Hello, everybody. I'm Andy Signor. Welcome back to Popcorn Planet. And if you're like me, you binged Stranger Things Season 3 this weekend. You just ignored your family. You did whatever. You didn't do that work. You didn't clean your house. You had to just watch all 7, 8 episodes. I don't even remember.
8, yeah.
But you sat through it, and now you want to talk about it, and that's what we're here to do. So if you haven't watched the whole season, you might want to tune out. I'm not going to spoil right away, but I'll warn you if we do, if you're looking for the review. So don't worry. If you haven't seen it, I won't get into spoilers right away. But we are going to talk about the season, then we'll get into some spoiler talk, in which case you can tune out. But for those of you who did watch, welcome, and those of you who are thinking about it, I think you should. I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to talk it down with my amazing panel here. So happy to have Ian, Elliot Carter, and Tati. Hey, guys.
Hey, man. Appreciate you having us. I actually almost called out of work to watch it, but I was like, I need the money.
It is one of those shows that they've created this feeling where you have to watch them, and
Absolutely.
but they put it on this odd moment where I want to ask this question actually, and I'm curious at home as we get to review. Overall, I like this season. Mm-hmm. I think it's not as good as 1, but I do think it surpassed 2. Just overall, what were your feelings?
Oh, I had the same thing. I think 1 is absolutely a classic that not a lot of problems, but yeah, 2 had a couple of problems, but this one just brought it back. Like, I'm loving the nostalgia.
I think it's definitely hard to touch 1, but I did really enjoy this season. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the season 2 sort of implied this sort of bigger budget sequel feel, and it just got lost a lot of times for me, and it just felt like it didn't really go anywhere, and just confusing, and I didn't really understand all that they were building. And in this one, I felt like they simplified it. They gave you a more simple reason as to what was happening, why, alluded to things from 2 and obviously 1, but then delivered what I thought, what I want the show to be, which is like an 80s genre feel, just a story. And I feel like they, this idea of like kids in the mall thinking that the Russians are coming after them was just a fun, it felt like an 80s movie. It felt like something I've seen but hadn't seen, and I appreciated overall.
I love the mall, man. It felt like a new character to the show. Like, I remember like watching the first season, the Upside Down felt like a different character. And like you said with season 2, it was everywhere. They were all over the place. But the mall, a lot of it was based in the mall, and I loved the fact that we knew where the mall was in certain parts of it. It felt like we were there.
Well, and I have to say, I'm younger than you. You guys are much younger than me.
You are an old fart.
I am an old fart, and I lived in that era of an 80s mall, and it was freaking insane to see that mall. And the art direction people, holy moly, give them all of the awards, because it was fantastic. They clearly built an all full mall to shoot that in, and just the little thing, like the Ground Round, which is the restaurant on the corner, and they had it look like the old time. Right. Sam Goody, Orange Julius, like Walden Books, like all of that was my life. Even through early '90s, a lot of those things were still there. I'm more of a '90s kid than an '80s kid, but I was around in the '80s, very small, but it just it brought me back. It was like crazy. I was watching it, and that is what I think the pro and the con of the show is it overly relies on that nostalgia feel, and that's clearly why the show took off, why it's popular. It's just they hit you hard with the nostalgia, and I think season 2 did it really poorly, where they're like, now's the Ghostbusters part, and they just were just hitting us over the head with references, and I felt like in this one, it felt more like references you would do in the era, and I was a little bit more forgiving of it. And the mall as itself, I agree with you, it was just a complete character that I was just like, wow, they went there, and they used the budget for something cool. They put the budget into a huge set that they could, and I wish they would have that set still be around so people could have gone and checked it out, and they could have made it a haunted house for I don't know where it was or where they built the mall, but kudos, and they will win the Emmys for production design by far, because that was Scoops Ahoy. Why they need to turn that into a real ice cream place.
That is dope. Yeah, I enjoyed that. One thing I also wanted to say before we move on too, I was like, when you said something about a lot of it's relying on nostalgia, I feel like Stranger Things is one of the most unoriginal shows that relies on nostalgia, but actually works because of how original the characters are, and I just love that. I feel like, yes, it relies on things that you bring back from memory, but at the same time, though, it's still kind of original. It's weird. It's an alien type of show.
And it can only really rely on like nostalgia so much, because there's so many young people that watch it that weren't around in the 80s. They don't care about like the
course.
80s nostalgia really. Like they obviously are going to have to care about the story and the characters because 80s nostalgia means nothing to them because
Yeah,
they
it does
weren't
nothing for
alive.
'em. Yeah,
But their parents were, and so it's kind of a brilliant idea, which I think,
Yeah.
because it's like, you're right. There's a lot of kids and people like you guys are like, I don't know what the hell some of this stuff is. But you're film lovers, so you get Never-Ending Story and some of the things
Right.
that they're trying to mention. But yes, and I think you're right. But so it's sort of like, oh yeah, the 80s, that was a cool era. Videotapes and stuff. So it allows people to pretend like they're in it. But
Yeah.
then I think the parents, people like me, we like literally Target has full displays now of just like they're selling, the videotape version of the DVD. They're selling like My Little Pony and the classic thing. They're selling D&D books and kits like they did back in the day. Like they are going full nostalgia because they know it, and I think people who don't even watch the show, they're going to walk by Target and they're like, oh my God, I remember that.
saw
And they're
that
going to buy it
Stranger
even if they don't even know what Stranger Things is. So it's kind of a
Right.
brilliant
Marketing.
marketing play. And Netflix is so smart in sort of doing it. But that's also part of my problem. You say it's original characters. I mean, like, these characters are complete 80s genre characters. The kids are the Goonies. To me, what was original characters was Hopper. Hopper and Winona Ryder, and in the first season,
yeah.
they were much more interesting, grounded characters. And then I think in 2, he then becomes
Three's
the
kind of
dad.
like Rambo a little bit, though. I felt like a Homer Simpson Rambo or something like
Yeah,
that.
he does, and it almost I didn't like him as much in a way because it just he became a sort of an 80s parody in a way. I'm gonna wear the Miami Vice shirt but there were still the moments of the Hopper I like, and overall I think his the arc they give him works.
It's hard not to like.
But yeah, I don't know who when you say the original characters, like who are you?
Well, you
to me,
did-
I just like revisiting them. But because I feel like they were probably more original in season 1, but now I think they're just becoming. It's because that was my biggest complaint. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
My biggest complaint was like in episode 1 or 2, like I was a little bored. I was like, all right,
I was too.
I've seen these beats. I don't know where I don't really care that much. It took about episode 3 or 4. I don't even remember it all. It becomes a blur. But
it felt like it turned on after 2, 3, and 4 because like 1 and 2, it just seemed like everybody, even the adults, were just all horny, and I was just like, goodness gracious,
Yeah.
can we get to the story?
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. I think it did start off with 3. That's when the story kept going and didn't stop, and I loved it.
yeah, did you have a problem? I mean, do you remember where it kicked off for you, Tati?
I would say probably about the same spot as you guys. I don't know. It was just, I remember like when turning it on, I was like, this is very different from like the previous seasons. And I didn't know how I felt about it. And I was like, everybody's dating each other.
I mean, that is what kids do at that age.
I mean, they do, but it was different. It was different. It was something to kind of adjust to.
Yeah, I mean, there was that point, like, they tried to give every character their arc. And it's like, Will, and I want to challenge us. Do we know all the kids' names? It was something I wanted to challenge us.
Somebody claims they do. I don't know.
I'll do it. I'll help you. There's Will, and I thought I liked Will the Wise and him as the nerd, and all his friends are trying to just get laid, and they've forgotten how to like play games anymore. Like that, I did connect to that thread. I thought they gave him something that was fun, and him in the full D&D garb, which I put in the thumbnail. That played to me, and I thought that was fun. And then, but I agree. Once he sort of threw all away childish things, and then
was a sad
got
scene,
the
man.
spider tingle. Like that's when the show started. I'm like, all right, now we're getting into the part of what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
But there's Will. There's help me out. Who were the
Mike.
4 kids? Mike. Yes.
11.
11. Dustin.
Lucas.
What's the new
You
girl
did.
Max.
name? Max. Good one.
And
yes.
Billy's her brother.
Billy. Who?
Jonathan.
who's-
Nancy.
Jonathan and Nancy. And then Steve.
Steve.
Okay, so we do.
New girl's Robin.
New girl is Robin. Okay.
Wow.
And
did it.
Erica.
Nice. The
yeah,
sister.
you can't
Can't
spell
have
Erica.
America
Erica
without
without
Erica.
That was very impressive. Wow.
Well, because we were having this conversation at the beginning, like sometimes I have trouble remembering. We didn't
Yeah.
remember the conspiracy character.
Yeah,
I couldn't
still-
remember
Yeah.
was he in 1 or only 2.
Yeah, he was just in
and
2.
he has a bigger role in this one, which I didn't mind.
Oh, I
he was
didn't
fun.
either. He's a hilarious character.
Yeah.
I enjoy him.
His interaction with the Russian scientist.
What was his name?
I don't know what he
It
was.
was like
Alexia?
Alexa or
Alexa?
something.
No,
Yeah.
Alexi's the Russian guy.
That's what we were talking
Oh,
about.
who's
Sorry.
the conspiracy
Who's the
guy?
conspiracy
I
guy?
have. We
That's
can
what
look
I
him
was
up.
trying to
That's the
remember.
problem.
I don't know what his
I don't
name is.
remember his name. I
He's
don't
like the
remember-
only one.
I honestly don't remember where he came from. But he was an interesting character.
No, that's
they're not there. I don't. Whatever.
Yeah,
but the point is, he was that sort of conspiracy character that was in 2, and I thought he had
Connected
been
him,
in
yeah.
1 because I remember in season 2, I was like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? I didn't remember him then, and it was confusing to me there.
Is that him?
Murray.
Yes.
That's
Murray.
it. Murray. Yes. That's the question with the show. Like, how memorable is it? This weird idea that we binge it sort of forces us to like go through 8 hours fast, and then we're supposed to remember it all, and it's hard. And it's like, I feel like Game of Thrones forced us to like, so with so many characters, you had to watch. There was a point there where you had to watch it and wait a week, and then wait a year, and then wait, and then they would sort of digest. It does feel like if you study for a week, every week for a month, you're going to remember more of what you saw than if you studied for 8 hours in one day and then expect to remember it all. So
that's very true.
I think that's a problem with the binge-worthy shows, but Stranger Things sort of ellipsed through and made it so popular that we are okay with it. But I was curious. What I was going to ask earlier is if they had just trimmed the fat, which they could have on this season, there was definitely a lot of fat, and made a 2.5-hour movie. Do you think people would have gone out and paid to see the movie? And do you think that the property, the IP of Stranger Things, is valuable and popular enough that people would have gone and paid a ticket? Would you have gone to pay a ticket? Do you think it would have been a big smash? Or does this format only really work at home where you can sit in your pajamas, binge it, and sort of and enjoy it? What do you guys think?
Well, so is this question for 3 or just the whole season?
I think imagine 1 and 2 had come out, and 3 was now the big to-do, and they were going to release 3, and now 3's in theaters with a big, huge mall 80s feel. Like, would the nostalgia have worked enough to get people to come buy a ticket?
I think so. I think 2 definitely left with a hanger, and if the way they release it is the way that the people are going to get it, I think no matter what, people wanted to see Stranger Things. No matter if they release it like in the woods or under the sea, like. If they have it, people want it. It's demand, and I do think it would have worked. And there was a lot of fat. And all the other seasons have fat they could trim as well. But I think it could have worked absolutely. And I look at the show as a movie in general anyway. So I think it would have worked. But I do enjoy the binge watching with my friends and family and just having that conversation because not everybody goes to the movies. So I get that.
Would you have bought a ticket?
I think that it would have worked, but I don't know if I would have wanted to. I think I prefer it as a season because you get more of the characters. You know, you're getting more time to see these characters like grow and everything that they're going through. And I think I would rather see it in like separate pieces versus just like 2 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a bigger question. I've been wrestling that, and I'll do it as a separate video. Just I'm curious, does the Netflix model only work because it's home, or do they have enough properties that could actually create that sort of movie going and big experience? Because this Stranger Things, I think, is really the first one for them of their own original IP that now forces people to like, all right, I got to stay home this weekend because Netflix is dropping this.
Yeah.
Like there's other things that are popular and other things they've licensed and things, but it's the first original Netflix property that I feel like
their baby. Yeah.
Everybody is going to see. So season 3 was a big deal, and I think I don't know. I think I would have been interested to see if they mixed the mediums and actually released 6 episodes and then held off and said the final 2 are going to be in theaters.
That actually,
and I think it would have been interesting. Cool. And I think the final 2 episodes were by far the best.
Yes, they were.
And it would have actually been an interesting test to see, like, could people just come in and watch like an 80s vibe in a mall type of horror movie, action movie? And I think, and I'd be curious to see would you have bought a ticket that way? Would you have been annoyed? I'm curious if that would have played well to them, and if they should be.
I would have preferred it like to do it that way, to have just like the last 2 episodes like in theaters versus like cutting out a lot of it and just making it one movie.
Yeah,
because that way you could still have the build up for people on the Netflix subscription, but then it would have been like, if you
want
to see it,
the last episode was over an hour anyway.
Yeah, it was good. It would have been cool,
really
and that's what I feel like this show's on that verge where it's like I would have actually preferred to watch with an audience because it's kind of silly, it's kind of ridiculous.
It
has some moments you want to react to, and it would have been interesting to see. Sometimes they'll do it like the first 2 episodes. Like, as a
I think Inhumans tried to do that, but it didn't really work.
They did the first 2 episodes, and I think Game of Thrones put a couple of them in theaters at the beginning, but it's never the beginning of the show you want to watch. You want to watch that finale. And it would have been fun to have like a 2-week only. Watch it first with the crowd and with extended, unrated, or whatever they need to do to sort of draw the people in. I wish Netflix would attempt to do some of those things to lift up their IP.
Do you think that they might do that with like whenever the last season for this show is?
I mean, maybe. I mean,
that's the next season.
It's a cost.
Yep.
It's a cost to release in theaters. I think they try to avoid it because do you really want to buy a ticket when you already have your Netflix subscription? That's the question.
That's true.
But I don't know. I think they would. I think they would have potentially, and I think it would have been an interesting idea. But anyway, back to the show, and now that you've seen overall, there were thoughts on the show. I want to get a little into spoilery things. So you've been warned. You can tune out or mute if you want, and I'll wave you again near the end, because I don't have to go crazy into spoilers, but I do want to talk a little bit about spoilers now for those who've watched it. And the big spoilers, so tune out. I've warned you. I loved the ending. And I think the ending, in a way, made me like the whole season more, even though what fell force. It was ridiculous that Hopper didn't just. It was kind of like Jack and Rose in Titanic, like. He was just staring at her and could have easily just run and helped her with the key.
Right.
But at the same time, I was appreciative of, okay, yeah, we got to have a big death scene to happen here. And I'm sure there's a way we'll go to some new version. Hopper could still be alive.
Right.
But that death scene definitely hit me. But beyond even that hitting me, it was that letter at the end, man.
That
letter
Yes.
at the end.
I literally cried.
Because I've been going through a lot of myself, and it was also a peak of as I'm preparing things to say and reliving a lot of terrible things in my life and facing them and confronting things that weren't right about me and ways people treat. Like I just read that letter, and it's making me like emotional again, just like of writing that to your child, and it was just such a beautiful way to sum up his character and give her strength to move forward. And it was just a beautiful scene and just sort of a really well written letter that it just I was literally like binging and rushing watching my phone, and I'm with my family, and I'm just like bawling, and I'm like, I need a minute because they weren't watching, and I just needed to finish, and I was on the car, and I was not prepared for the amount of emotional heft that thing was about to hit me with. But I was just curious, was that just me and my own emotional state, or did you?
Dude, that letter was very well written, and it did hit me as well, because you look back and they're doing flashbacks to like season 1 and stuff like that, so you feel like you're there with the characters as he's reading. You think like, oh man, she went through this, she's gone so far as a character, and it is touching. You feel like you're her friend too, like, oh, I'm so proud of you of what you've done.
He said something about, I miss making like the Eggos and stuff, and I remember thinking like, I haven't seen any Eggos this season.
There was one scene. They were pushing Coke a lot in this season.
They were.
But there was one scene that there was Eggos.
It was behind her, but she didn't eat it. But yeah, I remember, and you changed. But this whole idea of him living in a cave of just as people who've lost loves or lost, either passed away or relationships fail or whatever happens to them down, and this idea that he had been living in this cave, which then took me back to season 1 and just sort of how gruff he was, and then. You watch in this movie, he's trying to finally ask her out, like Winona Ryder out, and you're like, oh, go for it, man. You want them to succeed, and you can tell she's got her own walls and she's in her own cave of just not wanting to go out in the world. And this idea that he was, saying, you got to live through that pain, you got to feel that pain, and it means you're out of the cave. It hit me so much of just this. That is such a real thing of loss and that pain. If you're feeling it, it means you're trying, you're back out there, you're doing things, you're not just falling down, and that it was beautiful. So whoever wrote that scene, and David Harbour and everybody pulled that off together, it was just a beautiful ribbon on otherwise what would have been a pretty good show. But I think that hit me harder, that just it gave you a couple extra stars in my opinion.
No, I definitely agree. That was definitely one of the highlights. And moving forward from that too, I really feel bad for Winona Ryder's character.
Yes.
That's 2 guys she had to watch die right in front of her.
Because we were talking about it as it was happening. He was like, "You think Hopper's gonna die?" And I was like, "No, that would be terrible for Winona Ryder's character. No, not Joyce. No, she's already lost Bob. What the hell?
She literally finally let Bob in, and then he's gone. Right? It was pretty mean.
Yeah, I felt so bad.
And then I thought moving was actually forced, but then I was like, no, she probably needs to restart somewhere else.
Yeah,
makes sense.
They need to do so, so very emotional ending. I think that was it. I liked the Russian Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually kind of fun. It was clearly a homage to Terminator. And
absolutely.
I enjoyed those scenes. They were whenever he showed up and he had to go against and usually kicked his David Harbour's ass. I appreciated those nods. And that was where I feel like they borrowed things that I was okay with.
It worked, yeah. It was funny, but at times though, when he killed what's his name though, that wasn't funny at all. No. That was another emotional.
The Russian scientist.
Yeah, the Russian
scientist. I really liked that character.
I was starting to like him too. Yeah,
he was funny.
He was funny, and I liked that they sort of took the handcuffs off and they realized he's where's he gonna go? And I love that scene where what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. David Harbour's character.
I know you're talking about.
The sheriff. Why am I
Hopper?
Hopper, thank you. When Hopper it does that whole scene where he's he's gonna come back and he's gonna speed
he
off.
Looks like he's about to take off.
And you think he's gonna totally take off, and then and Hopper was right. That was one of those moments I'm like, okay, good. Don't have to always have him be an idiot.
Yeah.
He was right. Where was he going to go? He realized himself, I like strawberry too. It was just a good moment, and it made it more. So yeah, it was well written season. There were a lot of cool. I agree. The Russian Scientist was fun. And overall, what about the kid? What about Dustin and the girlfriend? Was that? I did enjoy that moment with that.
A lot of people like that more than I did. Maybe because I was just like so into the story. I thought it was cute, I guess, but I've never been really into the never-ending story, so I guess maybe.
Well, you're
I
wrong
liked
there.
the never-ending story, but I found that scene to be kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I was like, can we be done? Like, you don't have to sing the
was-
entire song.
It's like
You
we just
know,
made it
Who
up.
didn't see that coming though? We all knew that the girlfriend was gonna
I
come
was
up
like, well,
eventually.
and everyone's like, I think he's lying. Why would he lie?
Yeah, exactly.
For what reason?
Yeah, he has not been a liar on this show.
No.
I agree. But I had forgotten about it. I knew it was going to come.
Yeah,
I knew,
exactly.
like, of course the girlfriend's going to have to show up. And I thought it would just be an end. She'd show up like, hey, and everyone would give him a
Yeah,
look.
I knew it was
I
gonna
did
come.
appreciate that they helped her save the world. Was kind of cute. And I
Yeah.
remember when it happened, I was like, oh, all right, this is fun. And then the whole walkie-talkie channels, listening to him. I enjoyed it. I thought it was silly. It felt like an 80s vibe.
It did. I felt like everybody on the phone though, like, oh my gosh, hurry up, shut up.
Yeah.
That's how,
Even though I didn't really enjoy that scene that much, like at the end when Max and Lucas were like messing with him about
was
it and like
really
picking
funny.
on him, I really enjoyed
That was
that
cute
part.
too,
yeah.
But I wouldn't have been able to enjoy that
Without
part
the
without
moment.
the previous.
But I'm with you.
Yeah.
They could have cut it. They didn't have to do the whole song.
They really didn't. It was not necessary.
yeah, we got time. We got shit to do. Come on.
But it was because I kept seeing never-ending story images in my feeds, and I was like, "What's happening?" And then when I got, I was like, "Oh, it is a good song, and it is a good movie." You're wrong on that. It's a classic.
I like
I
those
watched that with my
movies.
kid, and they were just
Yeah.
absorbed.
I have to show it to my
Watching
son.
it now though,
It's just intense.
it's.
Yeah.
I mean, watching it as a kid, you're like, "Wow, this is great." Watching it now,
it's heavy
I'm
still.
I'll show
heavy.
my son. We'll see. We'll get the final verdict.
Yeah,
on
get the
that.
verdict. Mine was like 6.5, 7 when I did it. So and he was into it. But it's got some intense parts. Overall, final thoughts here as we wrap up, and spoilers are done. Spoilers. That's right. No more spoilers if you muted. I doubt anyone did that. They probably just left. But wrapping up the whole thing, overall, I think this show was worthy. I think they stepped up and earned a good recommendation. People should watch this. This is obviously worth the
100%.
$10 a month you pay on Netflix.
Yes.
This alone probably would be worth it easily.
It's saving Netflix. Seriously, it's keeping it afloat.
Yeah.
For sure. Now,
Yeah.
but my question is, do we think it can? Do we really want a 4? Do we? I have this problem.
That
where
was
it's
one
like,
thing I said to her in the car.
I'm okay. I would rather them take 5-10 years off and have these kids grow up
Have them
like
be
it
adults, yeah.
and come back as adults and then
Yeah.
make it more, have our nostalgia be even more, and then it's a 90s play. Like,
Yeah.
I'm more into, I think enough, like we have it. You don't need to keep hitting this. It's like when we saw there's an end credit
credits,
thing,
yeah.
and I was just like, really, that wasn't exciting to me. I wanted him to go even crazier if we're gonna go there, and it's something we already had seen,
Yeah.
to a lesser degree. And sorry, spoiler again. I would have rather seen like Hopper in some weird upside down world and imply
He
like,
still
oh, there's
could
a whole
possibly
nother
be.
thing.
He could be.
He could be in the upside down, but I'll try to end it as well too. I wanted to say that as soon as like the end credits started, I was like, they could end it right here and I'd be satisfied. This is like a kind of a perfect ending. It has a lot of leeway, I guess, but it's kind of a happy ending. But when they did that end credit scene, I was like, oh shit, they're still going on with this. Like we don't know what's going on in there. They mentioned an American. It could be Hopper. It could be somebody. It could be the conspiracy dude for all we know.
Someone
we don't
thought
know.
that it was
The scientist, Papa. Yeah, it could be Papa.
the guy that
Created
from
L.
from season 1, the guy that was like in the
Oh.
The guy that created L.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Papa. Yeah.
That's right. They didn't bring the American. There was still an American over there somewhere in the cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All they said was the American. People are thinking it's obviously possibly
Well, I thought-
Hopper, but he
Well,
could
I
be
thought
in
the guy
upside
they
down.
grabbed was the American. That's what I was confused. I don't even, in the scene, did he say, get the American, and they pull a guy out of the cell?
No. He said not the American.
Oh,
then
he
they
said
grabbed
not-
the
okay.
Russian. So
Grab the
we
Russian.
don't know who's in there.
Oh, okay. So they are fair. Okay, I thought that I was confused. Like, he's not American. He's speaking Russian. That makes way more sense and
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
makes it a little bit better. But yeah, that we've seen that creature before, haven't we? Like
Yeah,
that's
that's
sort of
yeah.
yeah.
That's endemic.
So I don't know. What I liked about this one is it finally brought like the big creature we've seen like trying to come into the world and do it in a level that wasn't insanely too big. a level they could handle. And I liked that. Felt like a finale and a point to me that I don't really need to see it. That said, if they waited a while and these kids actually grew up, which they're all going to grow up and then need another gig.
Right.
Maybe Matt and Emily, I don't know. Maybe a couple of them will last.
Bobby's going to be working forever.
I don't know. Everybody always wants to come back and get that paycheck again. So it'd be nice to sort of wait and have them come back and see what happens. Then I'm on board for Stranger Things Forever or whatever they're going to do with it.
Back in like season 2 when they had that episode with Elle and like all of the other kids that had all the powers and stuff, he really, really liked that episode. A lot of people didn't like it, but I think it would be cool to do like a spin-off kind of like focusing on them.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of Umbrella Academy, isn't it? In a weird way.
You got a point there too, but I mean, more mutants, more powers. Who doesn't want to see that?
Well,
or even just including them more in the next season.
They just
not
didn't even talk
all
about them this season.
All good thoughts. I'm good though for a little while. I'm curious what you guys think. Tell us in the comments. Do you need more Stranger Things? Some people, of course, I need it as much as possible. But
we're full
I think
right now.
we've hit there. They're at the age where they're not kids anymore. They're going to college. I don't need to see that phase. Let's go let them have their weird sex experiences and drugs or whatever they're going to do now. Let's pick up when they're actually grown-ups or they have their own kids. That'll be more interesting to me. But overall, I would recommend this season. I think it is a good finale. If you listen to our spoilers, you shouldn't have because it would have been more fun. But overall, if as we're summing up, I do think they did a good job. They hit it. It was better than 2. You reminded me in 2, I agree, though, there was that sort of, we're introducing all these other heroes. Yeah. I don't feel like they really fully did that correctly.
Yeah.
They sort of, and then they all died.
They just threw them in there and then that was it.
And it was like, if you're going to do that, you got to open up the world and have one of those become a character. And
that's
they didn't.
What made it a little sloppy.
And none of that really mattered in this season.
Yeah.
So it just proves that whole season was kind of it must not have stuck well with them either.
Exactly.
They went back to the roots, which was smart. The show always works well to me when they keep it simple. They keep it to the main characters. They embrace the 80s trope and find their own sort of lane. And I felt like they did it this well. And I think the carnival, the mall vibe, it all just sort of created a new big splasher look that worked. Any final thoughts from you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely a recommendation, like you said, and I'm looking forward to it. But like he also said, I'm kind of full right now, so give it some time to marinate.
Tati, you want 4 right away, or you want to wait a little bit?
I can wait. Yeah, I mean, I felt like the ending was a pretty good sum up to the whole series in general. So if they take a while before they make another one, I'd be okay with that.
I don't know. Netflix is losing a lot of IP in the next couple of years. I don't think they can afford to hold off too much longer. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of contracts they made. And I can see Netflix getting desperate saying, Duffler Brothers, we're doing another one whether you want to or not because we need to keep those sweet subscriptions coming in.
Yep.
Because once The Office leaves, man, and then Disney leaves.
Hit, dude.
I mean,
people
don't
content.
realize it. They're going to start that original content on their feed. It just is it's just too much for me. I don't. When I see a Netflix original, it almost now, like, HBO was always wise. When you saw an HBO original thing, you're like, okay, this is a pedigree that I want to check out. Yeah. This means someone really important wanted to do it, and they invested the money, and I went through a lot of channels to get here. But now Netflix, basically anybody who's like, I always wanted to make a thing about this. Here's money! And it just, the quality knocked down to a peg that I just don't trust the brand of Netflix originals anymore. Do you guys, am I the only one who feels that way?
It's a hit or miss. There is some good stuff on there, but you got to look for it.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There's this sea of Netflix original logos that you're like, I don't. Yeah. I often spend my time just looking, and then I don't even end up watching anything.
Yeah. Exactly. We have the same problem too, man.
It's like how many people do it, and does that justify paying for it? I don't know. For so far, maybe, but. Stranger Things, they're gonna need to pull. They will not let that stuff stay dead. I don't see that lasting very long.
That's their baby.
Well, what do you think in the comments? Tell us down below. Thank you so much for watching. Were you a fan? Was this one better than season 1? Did you like season 2? Do you want to see season 4? Do you like how it ended? Tell us all your thoughts and get in the conversation. We'll be in there. Ian, jump in the comments too. We'll be in there commenting with you. Ian, where can they find you?
You can find me on youtube.com/thecontroversy, man. We're doing reviews and having discussions, so check me out. Let me know what you think of my channel.
Tati, anything you want to plug?
Nah.
I love it. See, she doesn't care. That's awesome. But yes, thank you. Please subscribe to me, to Ian. Stay tuned, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Peace.